For 10 years, Noah Walker gave everything to Walker Logistics. He joined the company at 17, right after losing his parents. His uncle, Edward Walker, took him in and offered him a job in the family's small logistics business. Noah was grateful, and from that day on, he treated the company as if it were his own. While his friends enjoyed weekends and vacations, Noah worked overtime. He learned every part of the business, solved problems before anyone noticed them, and helped turn a struggling warehouse into one of the fastest-growing logistics companies in the city. Whenever someone praised the company's success, Edward would smile and tell Noah, "Keep working hard. One day, this company will be yours." Noah believed him. Those words gave him the strength to sacrifice his youth, his dreams, and even his personal life. The only person who stood beside him through those years was his girlfriend, Emily. They had been together for 5 years, and Noah had already bought an engagement ring. He planned to propose after receiving the promotion his uncle had promised him. But everything changed when Edward's son, Daniel, returned from overseas. Within weeks, Noah watched the life he had spent 10 years building slip through his fingers. The company he helped create was handed to someone else. The woman he loved chose another man, and the family he trusted threw him away without hesitation. On the day he walked out of Walker Logistics, carrying a single cardboard box, Noah believed he had lost everything. He didn't realize that this wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of everyone else's downfall. Chapter 1. The warehouse came alive before sunrise. Forklifts moved between rows of stacked pallets while trucks lined up outside the loading dock. Employees hurried from one task to another, but one person was already there before everyone else. Noah Walker. At 27, he knew every corner of Walker Logistics better than anyone. He checked delivery schedules, inspected shipments, answered customer calls, and solved problems before they could become disasters. Whenever something went wrong, the employees had only one answer: call Noah. He never complained. To him, the company wasn't just a workplace. It was the family legacy he had spent 10 years helping build. "Morning, Noah," one of the drivers greeted him. "Morning. Route 12 has heavy traffic today. Take the Easter Highway instead. It'll save you almost an hour." The driver smiled. "I don't know how you remember all this." Noah laughed. "Someone has to." As the trucks left one after another, several employees exchanged quiet smiles. "If Noah ever leaves, this place will fall apart. I've been saying that for years. He's the real reason this company is successful." Noah overheard their conversation, but simply shook his head. He wasn't looking for praise. He only wanted the company to grow. Later that morning, Edward Walker called him into his office. "You've done an excellent job this quarter," Edward said, sliding a report across the desk. "Our profits have reached another record." "I'm glad everything is working out," Noah replied. Edward smiled proudly. "You've carried this company on your shoulders for years. Keep doing what you're doing." Those words filled Noah with hope. For months, there had been rumors that the position of general manager would soon become available. After 10 years of loyalty, Noah believed the promotion was finally within reach. That evening, after leaving the office, he stopped at a jewelry store. Inside the display case sat a simple diamond ring. It wasn't the most expensive one, but it was beautiful. He imagined Emily's smile the moment he asked her to marry him. "I'll take it," Noah said. The salesman carefully placed the ring inside a small velvet box. Walking home, Noah couldn't stop smiling. A promotion, a proposal, a new beginning. Everything he had worked for was finally coming together. The next morning, the atmosphere at Walker Logistics felt strangely different. Luxury cars pulled into the parking lot. Employees gathered near the entrance, whispering excitedly. Noah frowned. "What's going on?" One of the supervisors looked toward the front gate. The boss's son just came back from London. Noah had heard stories about his cousin, Daniel Walker, but they hadn't seen each other in years. As a sleek black sports car came to a stop, a sharply dressed young man stepped out wearing designer clothes and expensive sunglasses. Edward walked outside with a wide smile and embraced his son. Then he turned toward the employees. "I'd like everyone to welcome Daniel Walker." Standing in the crowd, Noah had no idea that Daniel's arrival would destroy everything he had spent 10 years building. Chapter 2. Daniel's arrival changed the company overnight. The office that had always been quiet suddenly felt like a stage. Edward personally introduced his son to every department, proudly talking about the business degree Daniel had earned overseas. "This company will enter a new era," Edward announced. "Daniel will be learning every part of the business." The employees exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone knew who had actually built the company's daily operations. Noah. After the meeting, Edward called Noah into his office. "I have an important task for you." "Of course, Uncle. I want you to train Daniel. Teach him everything you know. I want him ready to take on more responsibility." Noah didn't hesitate. "If that's what's best for the company, I'll do it." Edward smiled. "I knew I could count on you." For the next several weeks, Noah patiently guided Daniel through every department. He explained delivery routes, warehouse management, supplier negotiations, customer relations, and financial reports. Daniel rarely paid attention. He spent more time scrolling through his phone than listening. Whenever Noah explained a process, Daniel would interrupt. "You're making this sound too complicated." "It works because every step matters," Noah replied calmly. Daniel simply shrugged. "I'll run things my own way." Instead of learning from Noah, Daniel preferred showing off his expensive watches, designer suits, and luxury car. Some younger employees admired him, but the senior staff quietly worried about the company's future. Outside of work, Noah noticed something else beginning to change. Emily had started asking about Daniel. "So, your cousin seems successful." "He just got here," Noah answered with a smile. "He still has a lot to learn. I heard he studied abroad." "He did." Emily nodded thoughtfully. A few days later, Noah arrived at a restaurant where he was supposed to meet Emily for dinner. She was 20 minutes late. "I'm sorry," she said as she sat down. "Daniel asked me for coffee. He wanted to know more about you." Noah found it a little strange, but he trusted both of them. If he was asking about work, that's fine. Emily smiled and changed the subject. The following week, Noah stayed late to finish an urgent shipment. As he walked through the parking lot, he noticed Daniel's black sports car pulling away. In the passenger seat was Emily. She was laughing at something Daniel had said. Noah froze for a moment. Before he could call out, the car disappeared into the evening traffic. He pulled out his phone and called Emily. She answered after several rings. "Sorry," she said quickly. "I'm with a friend right now. I'll call you later." The line went dead. Standing alone in the empty parking lot, Noah looked toward the road where the car had vanished. For the first time in 5 years, a small seed of doubt entered his heart. Chapter 3. For the next 2 weeks, Noah tried to convince himself he was overthinking everything. Emily still answered his calls, but her messages became shorter. She often canceled their plans, saying she was busy or tired. Whenever Noah asked if something was wrong, she simply smiled and said, "You're imagining things." He wanted to believe her. After all, they had been together for 5 years. The promotion was just around the corner, and the engagement ring was already waiting in his apartment. He told himself that once he proposed, everything would return to normal. One Friday evening, Noah left work earlier than usual. He stopped by Emily's favorite bakery, bought a small chocolate cake, and slipped the velvet ring box into his jacket pocket. Tonight, he would ask her to marry him. When he reached her apartment, he noticed the lights were on. A man's expensive sports car was parked outside. His heart skipped a beat. Noah walked to the door and knocked. No answer. Just as he reached for his phone, the door slowly opened. Standing in the living room was Daniel. He wore a smug smile, as if he had been expecting Noah. "Looking for someone?" Daniel asked. Before Noah could respond, Emily walked into the room. The moment their eyes met, her smile disappeared. "No." His gaze shifted between the two of them. The truth was already obvious. Daniel casually wrapped an arm around Emily's waist. "You should have called first," he said with a grin. Noah looked at Emily, hoping she would deny it. Instead, she lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." Those 2 words shattered 5 years of memories. "Since when?" Noah asked quietly. Emily took a deep breath. "A few months." "A few months," Noah repeated. "While you were still with me." She nodded. Daniel laughed. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Emily realized she deserved someone who could give her a better life. Noah clenched his fists but refused to lose control. He looked at Emily one last time. Was any of it real? For a moment, guilt flashed across her face. Then it disappeared. "I cared about you," she said softly. "But caring isn't enough. You spent 10 years working for someone else's company. Daniel is the future owner. I don't want to struggle for the rest of my life." Noah slowly pulled the velvet box from his pocket. Emily's eyes widened. Inside was the engagement ring. She covered her mouth in shock. "I was going to ask you to marry me tonight," Noah said. Silence filled the room. Daniel glanced at the ring and smirked. "Looks like you bought it too late." Without another word, Noah closed the box. He looked at the woman he had loved for 5 years and the cousin he had trusted his family. Neither of them deserved another second of his time. He turned around and walked away. Behind him, Emily called his name once. Noah didn't stop. As he stepped into the cold night, he realized he had lost the 2 people he trusted most. He just didn't know that an even greater betrayal was waiting for him at the office. Chapter 4. Noah didn't take a single day off. Despite everything that had happened with Emily, he arrived at Walker Logistics before sunrise, just as he had every morning for the past 10 years. Work was the only thing keeping his mind from falling apart. The employees noticed the dark circles under his eyes, but said nothing. They respected Noah too much to pry into his personal life. Around 10 o'clock, an email appeared on everyone's computer. Mandatory staff meeting, main conference room. The entire office gathered inside. Edward stood at the front of the room with Daniel beside him. Both wore confident smiles. Edward cleared his throat. "First, I want to thank everyone for your hard work over the years. Because of your dedication, Walker Logistics has become one of the leading companies in the region." The room filled with polite applause. "Starting today," Edward continued, "our company will begin a new chapter." He turned toward Daniel. "I'm officially appointing my son, Daniel Walker, as the new general manager of Walker Logistics. The room fell silent. Several employees instinctively looked at Noah. Everyone had expected him to receive the position. After all, he had spent 10 years building the company. Edward looked at Noah. "Noah, would you come up here?" Noah forced a smile and walked to the front. He still believed his uncle had another announcement. Instead, Edward handed him a white envelope. "Noah, thank you for everything you've done." Noah looked down. It was a termination letter. His smile vanished. "Uncle, what is this?" Edward's expression remained cold. "The company is moving in a different direction." "I don't understand. Daniel has his own management team. We no longer need your position." The words hit Noah like a punch. "I've worked here for 10 years. And we're grateful. You promised." Edward interrupted him. "Business isn't built on promises." Daniel stepped forward with a smug grin. "You've always been an employee, Noah. Don't confuse hard work with ownership." The room erupted in whispers. One senior supervisor couldn't stay quiet. "Sir, with all due respect, Noah runs this company. If he leaves, we'll have serious problems." Edward's face hardened. "The decision has been made." Two security guards entered the room. One of them lowered his head apologetically. "Mr. Walker, we've been asked to escort you out." Noah looked around the room. Many employees couldn't even meet his eyes. Others looked furious. 10 years of loyalty. 10 years of sacrifice. Gone in less than 5 minutes. Without saying another word, Noah picked up the small cardboard box holding his personal belongings. As he walked through the office, employees silently stood from their desks. Some nodded in respect. Others whispered, "Thank you." Noah smiled faintly. He wasn't angry with them. He was disappointed in the family he had trusted. The elevator doors closed behind him. As he stepped outside the building for what he believed was the last time, he looked back at the company he had helped build from the ground up. Then he made himself a promise. One day, they would realize exactly what they had lost. And by then, it would be far too late. Chapter 5. For the first time in 10 years, Noah woke up without an alarm. He stared at the ceiling of his small apartment, unsure what to do next. His phone remained silent. No delivery reports. No emergency calls. No employees asking for help. Walker Logistics had been his entire life, and now it was gone. Over the next 2 weeks, Noah sent out dozens of job applications. Most companies rejected him before the interview. Rumors had already spread that he had been fired because he was no longer capable of handling the business. Noah knew exactly who had started those rumors. Daniel. One afternoon, while leaving another unsuccessful interview, Noah sat on a park bench and let out a tired sigh. "Mind if I sit here?" He looked up to see a woman in a navy blue business suit. She looked to be around his age, carrying a laptop bag over one shoulder. "It's a public bench," Noah replied with a faint smile. She sat beside him. "I've been looking for you." Noah frowned. "You know me?" She handed him a business card. "Sophia Reed, Operations Director, Horizon Logistics." "I'm guessing you've heard about me for all the wrong reasons," Noah said. Sophia smiled. "I don't believe rumors. I believe results." She placed a file in his hands. Inside were reports comparing Walker Logistics with Horizon Logistics over the past 5 years. Every major improvement at Walker Logistics had one name attached to it. Prepared by Noah Walker. "I've been watching your work for 3 years," Sophia said. "Most people think your uncle built that company. I know better." Noah looked at her in surprise. "You investigated me?" "I researched the person I wanted to hire." She leaned forward. "Horizon Logistics has been struggling. We don't need a miracle. We need someone who knows how to build a company." Noah stayed silent. "I've already heard what happened," Sophia continued. "You were betrayed by your family. That wasn't your failure. It was theirs. For the first time since losing his job, someone recognized his worth." "I appreciate the offer," Noah said. "But why trust someone everyone else has rejected?" Sophia smiled confidently. "Because the people rejecting you are the same people losing their best employee." She stood and extended her hand. "So, are you ready to start over?" Noah looked at her hand for a long moment. He realized he had 2 choices. Keep mourning the life he had lost, or begin building a new one. A small smile appeared on his face as he shook her hand. "When do I start?" Sophia smiled. "Tomorrow morning." As they walked toward Horizon Logistics together, neither of them noticed a black luxury car parked across the street. Inside, Daniel watched through the tinted window. He smirked. "Let him go," he muttered. "He'll never be a threat." It was the biggest mistake Daniel would ever make. Chapter 6. Noah's first day at Horizon Logistics reminded him of Walker Logistics 10 years ago. The warehouse was disorganized. Deliveries were constantly delayed. Customers complained every day, and employees had lost confidence in the company. Most people would have seen a failing business. Noah saw potential. Instead of making big changes overnight, he spent his first week talking to warehouse workers, drivers, and office staff. He wanted to understand every problem before making a single decision. Within a month, everything began to change. Delivery routes were optimized. Warehouse operations became faster. Customer complaints dropped by half. Employees who had once dreaded coming to work were finally smiling again. Sophia watched the transformation with admiration. "I knew hiring you was the right decision," she said. Noah smiled. "I just gave everyone a chance to do their best." Meanwhile, trouble was growing inside Walker Logistics. Daniel ignored the advice of experienced employees and replaced several managers with his friends. Deliveries were delayed, important clients were left waiting, and mistakes became a daily occurrence. Edward believed the problems were temporary. "They'll adjust," he insisted. But the clients didn't. One by one, companies that had worked with Walker Logistics for years began canceling their contracts. Many of them signed with Horizon Logistics instead. During a meeting, Edward slammed a report onto the table. "Why are we losing so many customers?" No one answered. Finally, one senior manager spoke. They trusted Noah. "Most of these clients stayed because of him." Daniel scoffed. "Then we'll find new clients." The manager shook his head. "Trust isn't that easy to replace." At Horizon Logistics, Noah received another piece of good news. The company had just secured its biggest contract in 5 years. Sophia handed him the signed agreement with a smile. This client used to work with Walker Logistics. Noah looked at the company name and recognized it immediately. He had personally managed that account for almost 6 years. "They didn't come because of lower prices," Sophia said. "They asked one question. What was it? Is Noah Walker working here?" Noah was speechless. For the first time since being fired, he realized something important. His value had never come from the Walker family name. It came from the trust he had earned through years of honest work. As he looked out across the busy warehouse, his confidence slowly returned. Across town, Edward stared at another report showing falling profits. For the first time, he began to wonder if firing Noah had been the worst decision of his life. Chapter 7. 3 months passed, and the gap between the two companies grew wider. Under Noah's leadership, Horizon Logistics expanded faster than anyone expected. New clients signed contracts every week, and employees who had once feared losing their jobs now believed the company had a bright future. Sophia promoted Noah to head of operations. "You've done more in 3 months than anyone has done in 3 years," she said. Noah accepted the promotion with a smile. "I'm just doing my job." Meanwhile, Walker Logistics was falling apart. Daniel spent more time attending expensive parties than managing the company. He ignored customer complaints, skipped meetings, and blamed his employees whenever something went wrong. One afternoon, Emily walked into Daniel's office carrying coffee. "We haven't spent any time together lately," she said. Daniel didn't even look up from his phone. "I'm Busse. You've been saying that for weeks." Daniel sighed impatiently. "Emily, don't make a scene." Just then, a young woman wearing designer clothes walked into the office without knocking. She smiled and wrapped her arm around Daniel. "Ready for lunch?" Emily stared at them in disbelief. "Who is she?" Daniel casually stood up. "My girlfriend." Emily felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. "What about us?" Daniel laughed. "Us? You were convenient for a while, Emily. That's all." Her eyes filled with tears. "You told me you loved me." Daniel shrugged. "I say a lot of things." Without another glance, he walked out with the other woman, leaving Emily standing alone. For the first time, she understood exactly how Noah had felt. That evening, Emily drove past Horizon Logistics. As she waited at a traffic light, she saw Noah and Sophia leaving the office together. They were laughing about something. Noah looked happier than she had seen him in years. The traffic light turned green, but Emily couldn't move. She finally realized what she had thrown away. At the same time, another crisis hit Walker Logistics. The finance department discovered that hundreds of thousands of dollars were missing from the company's accounts. Edward immediately called an emergency meeting. "Where did the money go?" he demanded. The accountant lowered his head. Every transfer was approved by Mr. Daniel. Edward slowly turned toward his son. Daniel's face turned pale. For the first time since taking over the company, he had no excuse. Chapter 8. The conference room was silent. Edward threw the financial reports onto the table. "Explain this." Daniel glanced at the documents before forcing a smile. "It's just a temporary cash flow issue." The chief accountant shook his head. "No, sir. Nearly $5 million has been transferred to personal accounts over the past 6 months. None of it was used for company operations." Edward's face turned pale. "You stole from your own company." Daniel slammed his hands on the table. "I was going to pay it back." "When?" Daniel couldn't answer. By the next morning, the news had spread throughout Walker Logistics. Employees began resigning. Suppliers demanded immediate payment. Banks suspended the company's credit line. The clients who had stayed out of loyalty finally canceled their contracts. Walker Logistics, once one of the fastest-growing logistics companies in the city, was falling apart. Edward walked through the nearly empty warehouse. For the first time in years, there was no sound of forklifts, no trucks waiting to be loaded, and no employees rushing to meet deadlines. The place felt lifeless. He suddenly remembered how different it had been when Noah was in charge. Back then, every problem had already been solved before it reached his desk. Now, even the smallest issue had become a disaster. Edward finally understood the truth. Noah had never been just another employee. He had been the heart of the company. Meanwhile, Daniel packed several suitcases inside his luxury apartment. His passport, cash, and expensive watches disappeared into a travel bag. He had no intention of facing the consequences. Before leaving, he sent Edward a short message. "I'm sorry. I have to take care of myself. Asterisk, asterisk." Edward read the message again and again. The son he had chosen over Noah had abandoned him without a second thought. Across town, Horizon Logistics celebrated another milestone. The company had just signed its largest contract in its history. Employees applauded as Sophia announced the news. "This success belongs to everyone," she said, "especially the man who helped rebuild this company." Everyone turned toward Noah. The warehouse echoed with applause. Noah smiled humbly, thanking his team. He had finally found a place where he was valued for his ability instead of his last name. As the celebration continued, Edward stood alone in the empty warehouse of Walker Logistics. Surrounded by silence, he whispered words he never thought he would have to say. "I was wrong." But the person who deserved to hear those words was no longer there. Chapter 9. A week later, Edward Walker stood outside Horizon Logistics. The proud businessman who had once walked into every room with confidence now looked like a tired old man. His suit was wrinkled, and the stress on his face made him look years older. After asking the receptionist, he was led to Noah's office. When Noah opened the door, he froze for a moment. "Uncle." Edward lowered his head. "I came to apologize." Noah invited him inside and quietly poured 2 cups of coffee. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Edward broke the silence. "I destroyed everything." Noah remained calm. "You made your choice." Edward nodded. "I thought blood was more important than loyalty. I believed Daniel would grow into the role if I just gave him enough power." He let out a bitter laugh. "I was wrong." His eyes became red. "You were the one who built Walker Logistics. Without you, the company fell apart." He slid a folder across the table. "It's the ownership documents." Noah looked at them, but didn't open the folder. "I'm giving you the company." Noah slowly pushed it back. "No." Edward looked stunned. "You don't even want to look at it?" "No, but you spent 10 years building it." Noah smiled sadly. "And you spent 1 day taking it away." Silence filled the office. Edward understood there was nothing left to say. As he stood to leave, the office door opened again. Emily walked in. She hadn't expected to see Edward there. She looked at Noah with tearful eyes. "I heard you're doing well." "I'm doing fine. I'm sorry for everything." Noah didn't reply. Emily took a deep breath. "I made the biggest mistake of my life. Daniel used me, and I lost the only person who ever truly loved me." She wiped away her tears. If there's even a small chance, can we start over?" Noah looked at her quietly. 5 years together. Countless memories. A future he had once dreamed of. But those feelings belong to the past. "I've already forgiven you," he said. Hope appeared in Emily's eyes. Then Noah continued. "But forgiveness doesn't mean we can go back." Her smile faded. "You didn't leave me because I was poor," Noah said softly. "You left because you believed someone else could give you a better life. If I take you back now, I'll always wonder if you'd leave again the moment someone richer comes along." Emily lowered her head, unable to answer. Noah stood and walked them both to the door. "I hope you both find peace." Edward and Emily left without another word. Watching the elevator doors close, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not sadness, just relief. For the first time in years, the past no longer had any power over him. Chapter 10. 3 years later, Horizon Logistics had become one of the largest logistics companies in the country. What had once been a struggling business was now expanding into new cities every year. The company's success was built on one simple principle that Noah never changed. Treat employees with respect, and they'll build the company with you. As a result, Horizon became known as one of the best places to work. On the day of the company's 10th anniversary, hundreds of employees gathered for a celebration. Sophia walked onto the stage with a smile. "Today, we aren't just celebrating our company's success. We're celebrating the man who made it possible." She looked toward the audience. "Noah, would you please come up?" The hall erupted in applause. Noah stepped onto the stage and looked at the faces before him. 3 years ago, he had walked out of Walker Logistics, carrying nothing but a cardboard box. Today, he stood as the CEO and co-owner of a company that was worth far more than the one he had lost. "I didn't build this alone," Noah said. "Every person in this room helped make Horizon what it is today. Thank you for believing in me." The applause grew even louder. Standing near the back of the hall was an unexpected guest. Edward Walker. Walker Logistics no longer existed. The company had been sold to pay off its debts, and Edward had quietly retired. He watched Noah with a proud, yet regretful smile. Sophia walked over and greeted him politely. "Thank you for coming." Edward nodded. "I wanted to see what Noah had become." "You don't have to wonder anymore," Sophia replied. This is who he always was. Edward looked at Noah one last time before quietly leaving the hall. He finally understood that success isn't inherited. It's earned. Later that evening, Noah and Sophia stood on the rooftop overlooking the city. "You've come a long way," Sophia said. "No," Noah replied with a smile. "We have." Sophia slipped her hand into his. "The best decision I ever made was hiring you." Noah laughed. "And the best decision I ever made was accepting." As the city lights sparkled below, Noah thought about everything he had lost. His job, his first love, the company he had spent 10 years building. At the time, he believed his life was over. Now he realized those betrayals had led him to something far greater. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find the life you were truly meant to live.